And so you're starting to see this now. The parallel in app games is that I've seen a few really successful games, and then the second iteration from that developer, I get very excited by a developer. You know, oh, what a fantastic game that is. Then the second app from that developer tends to be more complex. You can almost feel that they're falling into exactly the same trap. Anyway, Powermonger came out, then the sequel, Populous 2 came out. Again, I was so distracted with other things going on at the time. I really didn't give it the care and attention it should have had. You know, a lot of people have said, well, are you ever going to do a Syndicate again? And I always wondered why people like Syndicate. I think it was because basically had a minigun and could shoot innocent people. That seemed to be the reason why people really liked it, actually. I think that was the core reason. And this was a return, because the company was big enough now, a return to me starting to play the game again. Rather than just program it and then do the business, it was playing the game again. So again, it's very important that you don't get distracted. Anyway, Syndicate went on to a game called Magic Carpet. Another stupid idea from me, I'm afraid. Now, with this technology, we could have done a first-person shooter. No problem. All I had to do is use this technology, put you in a corridor, have some really ugly zombie leap up in front of you, take the minigun from Syndicate, there you go. I could have had a first-person shooter, I've made more money than God. But instead, I decided bizarrely to set it on a magic carpet. Well, now we've got Connect. Maybe that would be the right thing to do, as you could balance on a magic carpet. But it just goes to show, again, the inspiration is don't go too far away from what people really want. And what I should have done, and this is, again, I take this in today's world, if you look at how some of the games have changed, especially the social games, getting more and more and more complex, you start to realize that they're actually getting further and further away from what people want. That went on to, surprisingly, I don't know if anyone has heard of this game called Theme Park. Has anyone heard of Theme Park? That was the most successful game I did by a long, long way. And it was a really simple idea, build and design your own theme park. And it's actually something which out of all these games here, I could probably see existing on social games. And then a game which hardly anyone would know about, called High Octane. There's a very funny story about that, but I've just realized I've already been talking for half an hour and I haven't even got past the second slide, so I'm going to move on a bit. And then my final game under Bullfrog was called Dungeon Keeper. Then I left Bullfrog, set up another company, which I'm still working at today, called Lionhead, and we worked on black and white. This was our real return. This is my real return to really, getting my hands dirty. I did a lot more coding on black and white than ever before, really trying to reinvent what people thought of as this God game genre. Again, it was hugely successful. And then after that, we started on the Fable series. How many people have heard of Fable? Great, I like you people. And Fable has been just hugely, hugely successful. And as you know, it has gone on. Now, it's probably over the 3 iterations, it will sell, up probably close to 15 million units, which is incredible thing. So here I stand at the end of that journey, traveling from this little developer who really had no idea of what he was doing to a big developer who has slightly more what they're doing. But anyway, let's take a look at one particular thing that's happened last year called Connect. Now, I am an enormous fan of Connect. as the pure, and I'm a Microsoft employee, they pay my salary, I've got to say nice things, otherwise they would kill me. But let's just put that to one side. I'll be critical about certain aspects of Connect, but the things I love about it, it is so unbelievably, completely different to anything that has ever existed before. And if you actually sit down and think about it, what it means by that statement, which I actually love, you are the controller, and I love this idea, you already know how to play the game. That was what are some of the marketing lines. The way Connect works is really quite simple. The hardware is really quite simple. The way it works is it fires something called structured light, which is like a dotted pattern, out into the room, and then a camera in an infrared pattern, and then a camera reads back that infrared pattern and looks for that pattern on you. Then a piece of software, which is an enormously clever thing, a piece of software looks at that and creates a depth map. And from that depth map, which is on the verge of being science fiction, to be honest with you, this weak learning system analyzes the picture and spots a human frame. Now, what that means is basically us as designers and programmers can get the joints of your body, your arms, somewhat of your hands, not your whole hand, because especially if you're standing too far back, your legs, your head. So that's one piece of the technology which is great. And it works. It works incredibly well, considering the unbelievable number of variations that people have in their living room. That's one thing. So I love that bit, but I love even more, and this is where I think there's a lot of interesting stuff coming. I love the fact that it also can see your room. There's an RGB camera that can see into your room, and it can hear your room. There's an array microphone that can pick up where sound's coming from. Now, you put all those things together with this simple concept and simple idea of you already know how to play the game, and we end up getting these things. And we're just going to quickly go through these. I need to be connected to the internet. We won't go through those. Let's not. I think we all know what it is, what they are. Basically, the four titles, one called Connectables, which are these cute tigers, one called Sports, one called Dance, and one called Fitness. Now, those titles they're what I call the first wave, and there's some lovely little tiny nuggets in each of one of those, which I wanted to go through and show you. The first one that I wanted to show you is Connectables. Now, the thing that I loved about that, I adored the quality of the little tiger cub. It was so cute, and when you actually could feel like you could stroke it and when you could engage with it, it was just wonderful. Didn't happen enough times for me, to be perfectly honest with you, but I love when I did interact with my tiger, I actually loved it. Sports, even though as a designer, the strange thing is if you watch people playing sports, we all know how to play sports, but it's just incredible the variations that people have in just their running style. And this is a huge problem for us us designers. You would think that people all run consistently. No. In actual fact, one of the problems is that, and I'm going to have to stand out in the middle of the stage, some people run like this. Perfect. Some people run, including after me watching myself, run like this. That's how I run, unfortunately. I realized that I did look, I started to question my own sexuality after seeing myself run. And this is one of the problems, is that everybody runs differently. That's just running. You would think, we would know how we all run, but we don't. The same with throwing, the same with catching. I mean, it's unbelievable the number of variations with catch. Now, what I love about sports, they took all of those human variations from the largest American person to the thinnest person, from the youngest person, from the oldest, and they smoothed it all out and made me feel like I could play sports. That's pretty cool. I mean, you've got to say, I know that the reviewers were harsh on these titles, but just the absolute design problem, because this is what's so fascinating about Connect. The only contact I have had with you as a designer up until that moment is through your thumbs. And everyone's thumbs are the same. As far as I'm concerned as a designer, I can just look at how fast you press your thumb or how much you move your thumb on the nipple. Yeah. Now, I have to take into account the entirety of your body. I have to take into account some very interesting things, like, for example, if I am standing playing Connect, and I, as a designer, want to start telling you a story, any story, then the first thing that you as a human being will want to do is sit down. Absolutely, for sure. Your overwhelming urge is sit down. I think that is a fascinating design thing. And then let's just talk a little bit about dance. Has anyone seen Dance Central? Now, Dance Central is a Connect game where you dance. You dance to Poker Face, and I was actually dancing with my mother-in-law, not something I recommend, by the way. I was dancing with my mother-in-law, and, she was saying, "You've got no time. You're the reason why it's all going wrong." And what dance did, it took that idea of everyone's different, everyone's got a different skeleton, they all move differently, and it actually made a game out of it. Because the smart thing that dance did is, instead of it's trying to make you do the precise move, it just got you slightly into that. So everyone who starts playing dance ends up dancing and ends up feeling they're really, really good at dancing. Actually, no one realizes that dance is cheating completely, because it wants you to be a good dancer. It doesn't care if you're a good dancer, it just wants you to be a good dancer. And that is great inspiration. Same with fitness. I think fitness is there's a huge area with Connect, because Connect can see your body, it can see your shape. If you start changing shape, if you start getting thinner, then Connect will know about that. It can literally see how much you're sweating and perspiring and how tired you are, and just by the pose of your skeletons, there's huge amount of innovation there. But that's what's out there now. What excites me is the potential for what is to come.